Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Datacron Set 19 review. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Just kidding. I had to rename it to awesome because too many people got confused by the concept of ugly, meaning both strong and weak, delineated by color. But we're going to be going over the whole Datacron set, starting with stats, alignment abilities, faction abilities, character abilities, determining which ones I think are good, which is basically decent and okay, but not like transcendent. Awesome, which is really, really good, just next level good, and then just bad. Previously, I used to do ugly, meaning if it was really, really bad, I'd say it was ugly and highlight in orange. If it was really, really good, I'd say it's ugly and highlight in black. But right now, good, the bad, and the awesome, starting with stats. The stats are kind of boring for this one. The good ones, we've got armor penetration, offense, potency, and tenacity. Previously, I put tenacity in the awesome category, but it had a lot higher numbers. This is the level 7 to 8 boost, so it goes all the way down to, there's level 4 and 5 boost, level 1 and 2 stat boosts. But these are the highest amounts. And offense is, it's okay. You're maxing out at like 60, 70% offense, probably 70% offense. Tenacity, previously a lot higher amounts. Critical damage, I put in bad because these numbers are really low for crit damage. You'd have to get like every roll to get it to have respectable crit damage boost. Potency is really high, so that's why that's good, 50 to 75%, although a lot of characters aren't really going to want the potency. And then resistance penetration. The numbers, I mean, it's good numbers. It's just less characters use resistance, so a lot of times you want to roll off it. That said, it is good in general for characters that do use special damage. There are just a lot fewer of them. And then crit chance, a lot of your big damage dealers don't really care too much about it. But if you're using a team that's like used to doing tons of damage without critting, that could be helpful. But overall, I'm not super big on the stats this time around. But between this and set 18, there's no defense. So that's gonna be, it's like the first time in a while we haven't had defense, which is usually the best stat. But yeah, those are our stats. And as far as light side alignment abilities, there is one dominant option that we're looking at. This is at the start of the encounter, light side allies gain 50% max health and protection for each other light side ally. So it makes everyone really thick, especially in 5v5 and 3v3. It's smaller, but still good. I think this is basically the only one you should get. I gave the good rating, the nod to 3% health and protection recovery when you grant a buff. That could be situationally nice if you have a ton of buffs on a team. You're always getting recovery. But in general, you want the greater max health and protection. Bad, when they light, days are stunned, they recover at 10% health and protection. It's so limited in scope. And when they resist a debuff, health and protection, you can't really control that too much. How often you're resisting debuffs and like even the attempted debuffs coming at you. And then this one is so situational. When a light side ally critically hits enemies more than 4 times, they gain 5% crit damage until the end of the battle. Wow, thank you. I managed to crit 4 times, and I only get 5% crit damage. This would be super bad, like in the ugly orange category if I still did that, but really, really bad. So real simple. If you got light side, pretty much only try to get this one. And for dark side level 3 abilities, there's one pretty dominant one, but it's 2 really good ones, a couple really bad ones, and this one's okay. So this one is pretty crazy. We had a variant, we had the light side variant of this back in set 2, and so that was like over 2 years ago. It's been so long. It was crazy then, it's gonna be crazy now for dark side. So this has the little infinity sign, so that's basically you could use it on anyone. These are some recommendations for this one where you might not want the turn meter. The turn meter boost at the beginning might be not that impactful. So whenever a dark side ally uses a basic ability, they can crit chance up, crit damage up, and offense up for 2 turns. So offensive buffs in 2 turns. It's nice. It's not during their turn. They use a basic. It's anytime they use a basic. If they assist, they get it. This has the potential to have a lot more long-lasting effects, particularly when you're not naturally getting these buffs. So these are some recommendations. Where I think this is going to make more sense is when you have a team that's built for the long haul, or they're getting out in first anyway. Great Mothers gets like a bonus turn at the beginning, so this doesn't help her at all. So I would stick with the offensive buffs. Slicker doesn't usually have access to these buffs, so that's going to be awesome for him. And plus, he doesn't like gaining turn meter. It penalizes him. So that's an example. Lord Vader is in it for the long haul. Like, they're not going to beat you by taking some turns sooner, although it could help. It's not going to be bad for him, but you might want to stick with the offensive buffs. Then BT1, with Afra already starting, taking turns, so I just have him here instead of Afra because he's the one doing damage. But Afra's getting that start anyway, and she gives a lot of turn meter out to the team, basically. And then Bane. Bane doesn't really care that much about getting like 25% offense. So this is not an exhaustive list, but when I was looking at all the dark side characters, these are the ones that seemed like they wouldn't benefit as much for the 25% turn meter. However, for like defense, it's going to be a lot better on defense, this one. Like, this is just going to be really hard to counter, and then people are going to have to calculate how fast things are. And it's going to be not straightforward. But the offensive buffs are just amazing. They are so good. The other one that's okay, that's good, when Dark Side allies start the turn with at least 2 buffs that can be dispelled to gain 5% offense till the end of the encounter. So this is something where this will benefit if you have a Dark Side team that already gets all these offensive buffs a lot. I'm not sure which one that is, but that's giving you a benefit you're not getting otherwise. That's just increasing your damage output. However, it takes a very long time. Each turn you can get a max of 5% offense, so even after it would take 10 turns to get to 50% offense. So this one has theoretical potential, but it takes a long time to really get off the ground, and that's not everyone has tons of buffs. The bad ones, whenever they gain a buff, they recover health and protection. I mean, it's like, it might be okay here and there, I guess. And then when the damage by % health affects, they recover 2% health. The only exception for this, like if Lord Vader has a ton of dots on him, he's basically just going to heal forever. That's one use case. Overall, these two for sure, high reroll priorities. So for light side and dark side level 3s, you're really going to want to reroll for these few abilities. Moving on to Imperial Trooper level 6 abilities. We don't have any bad ones here. They all are good in their own way. And I don't really have any recommended characters listed because there are relatively fewer Imperial Trooper teams, and all of them have different merits. So I'm not going to say, oh, use this one here, use this one this. So Grit, we used to have this in like set 3 or 4 or 5 or something. The Grit reduce damage from percent health effects, and they basically all turn into Malik without all the fear. Like, they're all health, they're immune to stuff like dots and thermal detonators, or they're not taking damage much from those. This allowed them to beat Jabba, so this was shortly after Jabba came out, so keep an eye out for that, with troopers countering Jabba. The other one, 400% of their current defense into offense. It's not as much as it sounds, but it's still good. It's extra offensive boost, so that's going to be nice on any team, whether it's Iden, a Beard's Trooper team, or the supporting cast members of Dark Trooper Moff Gideon, although the new characters are not Imperial Trooper. So that's just something to note. Dark Trooper Moff Gideon is not Imperial Trooper, and Death Trooper Peridia and Night Sister Night Trooper are not Imperial Troopers. And then this one, whenever Imperial Trooper allies have full health and protection at the start of their turn, they deal 100% more damage on their turn. That just has a lot of potential for someone like Dark Trooper or any of the Imperial Troopers. That is a lot of extra damage. So these two dealing with a lot more damage. When the Imperial Trooper allies attack out of turn, they have a plus 25% chance to remove 10% turn meter. That's not amazing usually, but they do have a lot of attacks out of turn. So Iden and Veer's Troopers definitely have a lot of assists. Iden has a lot of counterattacks, so it's potentially good. And then this one's just kind of a bailout. If they fall below half health, get damage immunity and health steal for 2 turns. That's just kind of like a fail-safe. So all those are decent. I'm definitely gonna try to get at least a Grit one, and then if I roll one of the other ones, I'm just not gonna be. It's not gonna be a priority to re-roll because they're all pretty decent. And that is Imperial Troopers. Next up, we got Tuskens. We have no awesome ones. They're all kind of like middling. We only have one Tusken team, so it's like whichever one you use. There's not really any real difference makers. I put this one as bad. They start with damage immunity for 2 turns. You kind of want them to get damaged is why I think it's bad. So when they have a lot of momentum, you want them to get damaged, and yeah, just not gonna be impactful. And all these are okay. I think the best one is probably fall below 100% health, get a bonus turn. That's just really annoying if you have them on defense. In 3v3, you know, that gets triggered less often, but Tuskens are more viable in 3v3. I don't think this makes them viable in 5v5 at the high end of Kyber 1 or even Kyber 2. But in 3v3, Tuskens are going to be relevant as always, and that might be nice. Another one, when a debuff on an enemy expires, there's going to be a lot of debuffs. They gain 2% potency and tenacity, so that's going to be a ton of tenacity, ton of potency. There's blind, which could be annoying whenever anyone's damaged, and then if they fall below half health, they get damage immunity and health steal up. So another fail safe. I'd probably go with blind or the bonus turn for health, dipping into their health. But again, I don't think it makes them viable in 5v5, just 3v3. So Tusken's not really a huge priority at this one. Next, we got Rebels, one of the biggest factions in the game, and there's definitely a clear winner here. So the awesome one is whenever Rebel allies use a special on their turn, they can riposte for 2 turns. Riposte means attacks out of turn hit under protection. They ignore protection, just go straight to health. And there are a lot of assists out there in Rebel land. The CLS team has a lot of assists. On Mothma is all assists. There's plenty of assists on the Leia team. It's just overall strong. This was also when I think set 2, it's maybe Jedi, but giving riposte to a whole faction, incredibly valuable. So make sure you have several of these. So several with the bulky level 3 and then the riposte. This one's good. At the end of their turn, Rebel allies get defense penetration up and offense up for 1 turn. The reason it's not like incredible or amazing is 1, it's only for 1 turn, and then 2, offense up is not uncommon for a lot of the Rebel teams. Like, there are ways to get offense up. So, but the riposte is transformative in a lot of ways. All these are pretty bad. This is the attack, same thing the Imperial Troopers have, a chance to remove turn meter when attacks out of turn. You don't want that, you want riposte. So I say just that one's bad because there's a clear alternative to that. When they critically hit an enemy during their turn, they gain 10% offense for 2 turns. So that would be better if it wasn't just during their turn. If it was like whenever they just critically hit an enemy, like at any point, that would be nice. There are instances where it could be nice. Maybe 3PO and Chewie does an AoE after people are already dead, and he does a ton of crits, and he gets a lot of offense. But then again, if you already have someone dead, that's not really that impactful, so that's why I say that. This one, I don't know why I have the text so big, but whenever Rebel allies are stunned, gain 50% turn meter, and recover 25% health and protection. That's nice, it's okay. Like, if you're going into a team where you know that they're going to stun you a lot, that could be good. Otherwise, it's too situational. Because the Datacron that allows automatic stunning all the time, that's going away. If that was still there when this was, that might be kind of useful, but it's not. So riposte and offensive buffs for sure. Moving on to our last faction, unaligned force users, the light side version. So you need to roll light side on the level 3 to roll unaligned force users. And this might be the first time, I think, that we have the same faction on back-to-back Datacron sets. I don't know, someone can check me on that. But yeah, the immediately previous faction has UFU as well. And one of the same abilities. So this is the best one. We already have access to this with set 18. When an UFU defeats an enemy, they take a bonus turn. That's just really good. I mean, you can chain that with a powerhouse like Slicker or Malicos, even though they're dark side. Yeah, I'm mentioning those. Or like Rey defeats an enemy, takes a bonus turn. Tons of good unaligned force users that do tons of damage. So that's going to be amazing. The good ones, these are definitely solid. If an UFU is critically hit, they gain 100% crit avoidance and crit chance for 2 turns. So it's going to be a lot harder to crit them. It's not crit immunity, but it's very close. It's very valuable. And it's not like you can dispel it. It's just a passive enhancement to them that cannot be targeted. So that's really good. If they grant a buff to another ally, they gain 10% turn meter. Where this comes in the best is if there's a buff granted at the beginning of the battle. Because that's just an extra 10% turn meter boost, and that's where it's best. Whenever unaligned force user ally, so think of like Ezra. Well, I guess never mind. He's not UFU. I was thinking of Ezra Exile getting the foresight up, but no, that's not him. And then this one, when they start the turn with at least 2 buffs that can be dispelled, they have a 65% chance to dispel all debuffs. That is nice. I've not been so big on this one in the past on other factions, but it is kind of handy. Just the potential to always dispel is quite nice. And then this one they always use on some faction or another. The first time when UFU falls below half health, all users reduce their cooldowns by 1 and gain 10% turn meter. It's not a lot of turn meter. The cooldown reduction is nice, but I've never seen this like targeted by anyone. No one is trying to get this, and it's not really caught anyone off guard that I've seen since they've been using variants of this for different factions. So that one's pretty bad. Bonus turn, crit avoidance, crit chance. My top votes for this. And now we're moving on to level 9 abilities, starting with Imperial Trooper ones. We got a lot of good ones here, a lot of like kind of rebalancing for lesser characters. The best one by far, I think, is Admiral Piet. So the first time he's defeated, if there is at least one other active ally, revive all other defeated allies, and all other allies recover 100% health and protection, gain 100% turn meter, 100% offense till the end of the battle. That is so good. I mean, it's basically he has to be sacrificed for this to happen. It's hard to make that happen on offense, and then on defense, you know, people are gonna kind of work around this and kill him last potentially. But with Lord Vader, you know, this might make him a decent Lord Vader. Make Lord Vader a decent defensive team. Just 100% offense. That's crazy, and just the full turn meter. Lord Vader doesn't get turn meter himself, but that's just nuts. For like an Imperial Trooper team, like a Veers Trooper team on offense, I don't know how good that's going to be just because, I don't know. Like you need him to keep going. But you could also, there's no real qualifications or limitations on this. You could throw him into any team, really. It doesn't even have to make sense. You could put him with like Rey, and then everyone's going to get a full offense boost. Like it's really good. Like as long as it does work as written, it has a lot of potential. Next up, Magma Trooper, really strong, awesome. Whenever Magma uses a basic, gains 50% protection up for 2 turns and 50% turn meter. A little turn meter train going on there. Whenever Magma Trooper damages an enemy using a special, inflict fear for 1 turn. And he has an AoE. So you're gonna have an AoE fear with the Iden team, and just a lot of protection up with him. And with that turn meter, you know, he's gonna cycle through his turns fast. So that's pretty good. I don't know if that's not going to make them like a GL beating team or anything, but it could make them annoying. Snow Trooper, another peon Imperial Trooper. Whenever Snow Trooper crits an enemy, he gains damage unity for 1 turn. I think this is a variant of the Death Trooper one we had recently. He gains 25% turn meter. He has an AoE, so he could get a full, like an extra turn. Blinds the enemy, so if he AoEs, he could AoE blind everyone and get another turn. If the enemy was target locked, he also gains 100% protection up, retribution, and speed up for 2 turns. So that's a lot of stuff packed into Snow Trooper. Usually he's just gonna run with Iden, so Iden or Magma Trooper. I don't know which one's probably gonna be better. Probably Magma Trooper for the fear, but I don't know. And then the good ones, I mean, these are all, like, everything here is solid. The Imperial Trooper faction, this set is just really good. Whenever Range Trooper crits an enemy, they gain 10% crit damage, defense, penetration, offense. That's okay. The reason that's not awesome is he just is not a damage dealer. If he gets all that stacked up, maybe he's going to start doing some good damage, but he's not really going to pop off. And then Death Trooper, whenever he deals damage to an enemy, remove 25% turn meter from that enemy. Considering he has an AoE and a double hit basic, that's quite good. It can be resisted. If it couldn't be resisted, I'd say that's probably in the awesome category. But he's on a valuable team. Dark Trooper Moff Gideon is a great team, so that's definitely going to be a solid one. So all of these have some value. You could find some value with them. The only one I'm going to say you should really make sure you get for sure is Piet. That one has, the sky is the limit. And where there's a standout faction like Imperial Troopers in this set, there's usually a dud faction. And for this set, that's Tuskens. Tuskens in the past have had crazy broken Datacrons. This is not one of those sets. The best one, I'd say, is probably Chieftains. Whenever he uses a basic, or she, all other allies gain 25% turn meter. Not even just Tuskens. So you could put her on any team, and you know, she's going to give turn meter. And then the other one's okay. Tusken Warriors, reflecting damage, 20% when he gets hit. Chieftain for sure. Like, for a Tusken team, I'm picking Chieftain. For the 3v3 team, because that's the only viable one. The rest of these are trash just because they're trash. Gets turn meter when other people use specials. We don't care. It doesn't matter if he's taking a turn. Tusken Raider, whenever he evades an attack, okay, like how often is he evading? Crit chance and crit damage up and 50% turn meter. If they had a lot of foresight or something, or blind, that's another thing. Well, maybe if you combine this with the blind, so if you get a level 6 blind, that could be actually pretty good. I just not thought of that, but otherwise, not really great. And then Tusken Shaman, they're gonna dispel stuff on themselves and heal. Again, big whoop. Who cares about Shaman? So overall, very lackluster faction. Chieftain is the one to go for, but with a possible, level 6 blind combined with this, that could be pretty good. That's Tuskens. Next up, the first of 2 large factions, we got Rebels. Several solid ones. I took the words good, bad, awesome off because it was too tight, but just go by the highlights. So Commander Luke is the strongest one. This is an iteration of that was first seen with Canderous Ordo. When he damages an enemy with a special, does armor shred. If they don't have armor shred already, so he's not doing multiple stacks. And then if you use a basic on someone with armor shred, exposed for 2 turns, can't be resisted, and Luke gains 50% protection up, which is really good. The 50% protection up is also that's a lot, and that's nice because CLS the team as a whole doesn't have a lot of like survivability functions, or like they don't have natural protection up except for C-3PO grants a little bit, but that's gonna help them stay alive. Inflicting extra debuffs is gonna help generate turn meter on the CLS team. Just armor shred, like it's a lot of extra damage potential through the armor shred and the exposed and the turn meter, so it's really good. Other good ones, C-3PO, unlike you kind of like when C-3PO takes a turn, so it gets 50% turn meter when other allies use a special. So he's going to cycle through his turns a lot more, get out more translation, perhaps refresh some cooldowns. So it's good. On Solo, this is like the one we currently have on Maul. It's like a extra life. They revive if they die. They revive with 100% health, protection every time, and take a bonus turn. So it's just nice. On offense, it's just kind of like a fail-safe. He could die because he's pretty flimsy. He's going to come back. It's nice. It's not overpowering, but it's nice. Stormtrooper Han, he deals 5% more damage per relic amplifier level on all allies present at the start. So you could have like if you have a full R9 team, that's like 220% or 225% extra damage. If you have a full relic 5, everyone's relic 5, then that's that would be in a 5v5 team. That's 125% extra. It's okay. I mean, he's not a big damage dealer, but he can hit occasionally hard. Under a Leia, maybe that'll be something worthwhile. The bad ones, Captain Han Solo. He dispels debuffs on himself and heals himself a little bit. Big whoop. He's not worth using. This doesn't make him worth using. Lando, also, this is like range trooper, but Lando is so bad. This does not make him worth using. If he gets a rework, then look out. Like if he gets a rework, like for some reason during this set, and is actually good, then this will be nice. Lots of extra crit damage, defense and offense, defense penetration and offense, but he's not good. This does not make him worth using. And that is the Rebels. And last but not least, we have the unaligned force users. Like with the Rebels, I didn't put the words good, bad, and awesome here, but just go by the highlighting. I'll start from the top and go to the bottom. But the best one is going to be the new GL intent. Cal Kestis has plus 5% max health of protection per relic amplifier, and the damage they receive is decreased by 15%. That's pretty nice. I mean, Cal is usually a target of, he's someone you want to get out of the way. And this makes him harder to kill. So that's nice. A lot of people have him at either R5 or R7, but it's good. Padawan Sabine, extra turn meter when other allies use special. She's a decent character, so why not? If she's getting turn meter, just give it to her. Or if people want to give her turn meter, she'll take it. Is basically what I'm trying to say. So it's all right. Interestingly enough, the Commander Sokatano, one of the best characters, has one of the worst Datacron abilities. It's just too conditional. They keep throwing this one back in. This should have died in set 5 when it first came out. At the start of Cat's turn, they have a 1 in 5 chance to gain 50% defense penetration for 1 turn. Like, it's It's like such a rare thing to even happen, and even when it does, it's so underwhelming. It's pointless. This does not matter. The only value this has is helping you organize your Datacrons because the UI doesn't have any organizational tools for it whatsoever. You could say, oh, that one with the cat portrait has this much of this stat, these abilities, and I like that you're on this team. Because you can't label them at all or anything. So not good. Continuing with the Ahsoka trend, Ahsoka Fulcrum. This one is really good. So this is like what Dengar has currently. Whenever an enemy takes a turn, Fulcrum takes a bonus turn. During this bonus turn, they deal 100% more damage. This bonus turn can't trigger this effect on enemies. So I'm not sure exactly. So she has her first special, which gives her all the buffs. And then the second one turns all those buffs into extra damage. The first special gives the buffs for 2 turns. If that buff, I think that 2 turns includes the turn it's being granted. If that's the case, you want to use the special right away. If it's not, you might want to gain all the buffs and then wait a turn. Let someone else take a turn to give you the bonus turn, and then do the big whirlwind with 100% extra damage. Either way, if she has a lot of buffs granted to her otherwise, that 100% extra damage, that's basically going to be an insta-kill. It's basically going to be Cat's insta-kill, because Ahsoka can already hit really hard. So that one's awesome. And then last, Ahsoka, GL Ahsoka. It's simple, but it's effective. At the start of the battle, all Spectre allies gain Mirai's Wisdom for 2 turns. Can't be copied, dispelled, or prevented. That gives them extra speed. It reduces the damage they take. It makes them take reduced damage from percent health effects. It's a new buff, and it's only associated with the GL, so it's necessarily going to be pretty good. So that's just a great start to the battle. And then whenever a Spectre ally with Mirai's Wisdom uses special, she gains 3% ultimate. So that's going to be a supercharged ultimate, which is potentially the most scary thing. And, you know, as new GLs come, they don't usually need too much help from a Datacron, but when they get it, they become next level and overpowered. So I'm not looking forward to having to deal with this. And there are already some crazy people out there that already have her. Some of my guild already have her. But a lot of people out there, just check the leaderboards for Grand Arena. You'll find, for Cairo 1, you'll find plenty of people that already have GL Ahsoka. And that's it for UFUs. And not just UFUs, that's it for all of the Datacron stuff. However, we are going to be recommending a few reroll priorities. So for stats, I'm going to say no. There's nothing I think that's overwhelming you really need to get to. Like, as like a free player with limited rerolls, I don't think it's a huge priority. I'd say just rolling away from crit chance is really the only thing to prioritize. For the alignment, level 3, dark side, light side, absolutely. This is the top reroll priority. Those few awesome abilities on level 3s, that's what you want to shoot for, and to the exclusion of everything else, first priority. Faction, there's some good ones and bad ones, so that's kind of a secondary focus. And then for the level 9, it's not too important to reroll. I put the Rebel icon because I think you want to try to get CLS and roll away from Lando or Captain Han Solo potentially. But you know, if you're trying to go for just a stat cron and you need to get to level 9 to reroll, I think you just kind of leave it. So for most of these, so yeah, that's it. And this has been the Set 19 Datacron review. Let me know what you think. Usually I miss something, so people usually tell me something that I didn't think about. So I'd love to hear from you, and I hope this helps. All right, bye.